The meeting. Daniel Cross had been to many strange places in his life, but nothing prepared him for the Hall of the Nine Suns. It was not really a hall. It was more like a giant glass bubble floating in space. Through the transparent walls, he could see 100 bright stars, some blue, some red, some spinning slowly like coins in water. The floor under his boots was a smooth silver surface that reflected his face. Every step he took echoed softly in the wide, open space. Around him, dozens of alien beings stood in small groups, talking in low voices. Some had tall, thin bodies with crystal-like skin. Others were short and round with eyes on stalks. The air was full of scents he could not name, sweet, sharp, and strange. Colorful banners hung in the air without strings, floating like they were weightless. It was a diplomatic gathering, the kind where everyone wore their best clothes and pretended to like each other. Daniel adjusted the collar of his navy blue jacket. He was here as a representative of Earth. It was supposed to be a simple visit. Smile, shake hands, say nice words, and leave. But as soon as he entered the center of the hall, he felt something was off. The sound of conversation seemed to fade, replaced by an odd, heavy quiet. He noticed a small figure near the far wall. It was a little alien girl, no more than 8 years old if he guessed by size. Her skin was a soft green, her large silver eyes shining like moons. She wore a simple white dress with a pattern of tiny stars along the hem. She was half hiding behind a tall woman who had the same silver eyes, probably her mother. The girl's gaze locked onto him the moment he stepped closer. She froze for a second as if she had just seen something impossible. Then she slowly raised her hand and pointed directly at him. Her voice was soft but carried across the hall like a whisper in a dream. "Mom." "Bantam," she said. "That's him." The tall woman looked down at her daughter, confused. "That's who, child?" she asked gently. The girl did not blink, her silver eyes fixed on Daniel. "That's the man from the story," she whispered. "The one who comes when the dark sky burns." A ripple passed through the crowd. Whispers in different alien languages began to spread from one group to another. Daniel felt dozens of eyes turned toward him. The mother's expression changed from confusion to something deeper, fear mixed with awe. She stepped forward, pulling the girl with her. "Human," the woman said, her voice formal but trembling. "Is your name Daniel Cross?" Daniel hesitated. "Yes," he replied slowly. The whispers grew louder. Even the alien guards near the entrance straightened, their hands resting on strange weapons at their belts. The mother took a step back, almost as if she didn't want to be too close to him. She turned to the others and spoke in a language Daniel couldn't understand, but the reaction was clear. Everyone seemed shocked. The council leader, a tall being with golden skin and long white hair, raised his hand for silence. The hall fell completely quiet. "You should not be here," the leader said in a deep voice. Daniel frowned. "I was invited," he said. "I came to represent Earth." The leader's eyes narrowed. "Perhaps Earth does not know the weight of your presence." He glanced at the little girl. "Child, are you certain?" She nodded once firmly. The leader's gaze returned to Daniel. "Then it has begun," he said softly. Daniel felt a cold shiver run down his spine. "What has begun?" he asked. No one answered. The golden-skinned leader gestured to the guards and 2 of them began walking toward Daniel. Instinctively, his muscles tensed. He had no idea if they were coming to welcome him or arrest him. The little alien girl's voice broke the silence again. "You came before," she said. "You saved us before." Daniel shook his head. "I've never been here in my life." The girl tilted her head. "Not in this life," she whispered. The hall seemed to grow colder. One of the guards stopped only a few steps away. The leader spoke again. "We thought the old story was only a myth. But if you are truly the same, then our time is short." Daniel's heart began to pound in his ears. "What are you talking about?" he demanded. The leader looked straight into his eyes. "You were seen in our skies hundreds of years ago when the fire ships came. You vanished the moment the danger passed." Daniel tried to laugh, but it came out dry and nervous. "That's impossible," he said. "Humans weren't even traveling here hundreds of years ago." The leader did not smile. "Our records do not lie," he said, And your face has not changed since that day. Daniel opened his mouth to argue, but then a loud metallic sound filled the air, a deep, echoing alarm that made the glass walls tremble. Everyone turned toward the far end of the hall where a massive viewing screen flickered to life. The image showed black space, and then a shape emerging from the darkness, a huge, jagged silhouette, its surface glowing with red lines like burning cracks. Ships, dozens of them, moved in formation behind it. The leader's voice was grim. They have come again. The little alien girl's hand was still pointing at Daniel, her silver eyes wide, her voice almost calm now. You came before, she said softly. You will come again. Daniel had no idea what she meant, but he knew one thing. The room full of aliens was looking at him not as a guest, but as the answer to something they had been waiting for, the prophecy. The hall doors closed with a deep echo, trapping Daniel inside with 100 alien eyes watching him. Outside, the alarm still screamed, but here the sound was muffled like the room itself wanted to hear the next words. The golden-skinned leader walked toward the center, his long robe dragging on the silver floor. He stopped in front of Daniel and spoke in a voice that carried through the hall without effort. You wish to understand, human, he said. Then you must hear the prophecy. Daniel wanted to tell him he didn't care about fairy tales, but something in the leader's eyes froze the words in his throat. The leader raised one hand and a beam of light shot down from the ceiling. In the light, shapes began to form. Not pictures, but living images made of mist and fire. Daniel saw a burning sky, ships like spears of light falling from above. He saw a world made of green oceans and black mountains, and in the middle of the chaos he saw a single human figure. The face was blurry at first, but then it sharpened. It was his own face staring back at him. He took a step back. That's not possible, he whispered. The leader continued as if he hadn't heard. Our ancestors called you the Wanderer beyond time. They said you appear only when the dark fleets rise. You fight for those who are not your own. And when the last enemy falls, you vanish without a trace. The little alien girl spoke from behind her mother. He came to us once before, when I was not yet born. I have dreamed of him every night since I was old enough to speak. Her voice didn't shake. It sounded certain, as if she were stating a fact. Daniel shook his head. Dreams don't mean anything, but the leader's golden eyes narrowed. In our culture, dreams are threads from the past to the future. The girl is a seer. Her words are not chance. Daniel's stomach felt heavy. If this was a trick, it was the most elaborate one he had ever seen. But if it wasn't, then he had somehow been here before, which was impossible. The leader stepped closer until Daniel could see the faint cracks in his golden skin. Our records say the Savior comes twice, the first time to warn us, the second time to face the darkness itself. And if he fails, our world will burn. Before Daniel could answer, the hall's viewing screen lit up again. This time the image was clearer. A vast enemy fleet moving through the black void. Dozens of ships, each one the size of a city. Red light pulsed from their cores like the heartbeat of a predator. The leader's voice dropped lower. This is the second time, he said, and there will be no third. Daniel's pulse was racing. I'm not your savior, he said quickly. I'm just a pilot. I don't even know your weapons, your ships, your... He stopped because the viewing screen zoomed in, and on the side of the enemy's lead ship was a symbol. The same symbol engraved on the sleeve of his own jacket. Gasps filled the room. The little girl stepped out from behind her mother, her silver eyes locked onto Daniel with unshakable certainty. You are here because it is time, she said. You are here because the darkness knows your name. The leader turned to the guards. Prepare the starfire chamber, he ordered. Daniel's confusion turned to alarm. The what now? He asked. But no one answered. The guards moved toward him, not with aggression, but with a kind of fearful respect, as if they were handling something dangerous, but also necessary. The leader looked at him one last time. If the prophecy is true, you were never sent here by chance. You are not only part of this war, you are the reason it will be won, or lost. The lights dimmed, the viewing screen went black, only the little girl's voice cut through the dark. It begins tonight, she whispered. And somewhere beyond the glass walls of the hall, the first enemy ship broke through orbit, the threat. The hall shook, not from footsteps, not from voices, but from something far bigger pressing against the very walls of the Nine Suns. A deep hum ran through the floor, crawling up Daniel's legs like static. The golden-skinned leader looked toward the ceiling as if listening to a voice no one else could hear. "They've broken the outer shield," he said quietly. Around the room, aliens began moving fast, some rushing to consoles, others running toward weapon lockers. The calm ceremony from minutes ago had shattered into chaos. Daniel was still trying to make sense of the prophecy, but the viewing screen lit up again, showing the enemy fleet in terrifying detail. The largest ship was so massive it blocked the starlight behind it. Its surface was black and jagged like obsidian glass, but the cracks running across it glowed red, as if molten lava was trapped inside. Dozens of smaller ships moved around it, sharp and insect-like. Each one emitted a strange clicking noise, like the grinding of teeth. "This is no ordinary enemy," the leader said. "They are the Vorin, the machine swarm. They destroy planets for their cores and leave only dust behind." Daniel frowned. "Machines? Like AI?" The leader nodded once. "AI that hunts. AI that remembers." The screen zoomed in, and Daniel's chest tightened. There it was again. The symbol from his jacket sleeve burned into the hull of the Vorin flagship. It was no coincidence now. "They are calling for you," the leader said, his tone grim. "They believe you are still the heir prey." The little alien girl stepped forward, her silver eyes unblinking. "They came here because they know you are here," she said. Daniel turned sharply. "Why would machines from across the galaxy care about me?" Her answer was soft but sharp. "Because you broke them once." Before he could argue, the hall lights turned red. A voice on the comms shouted, "Outer defense ring collapsing. Enemy breach in 3 sectors." The leader faced Daniel. "We cannot command our weapons to full strength without the Starfire key. And only you can wield it." Daniel raised his hands. "Look, I don't know your systems. I don't know your weapons. But then the girl interrupted. "You will know the moment you touch it." 2 guards rushed to his side, not grabbing him, but guiding him toward a door at the far end of the hall. The air beyond was colder. They led him down a narrow corridor lined with glowing lines that pulsed in rhythm with his heartbeat. At the end of the corridor was a single pedestal. Floating above it was a sphere of pure white light, spinning slowly. Daniel felt drawn to it. The closer he got, the louder the hum became. Not in his ears, but in his mind, the leader's voice echoed behind him. "The Starfire key bonds to only one soul at a time. It remembers its last master, and it will not obey any other." Daniel stopped just a few steps away from it. "I'm telling you, I'm not," he began. But the sphere suddenly pulsed, sending out a wave of light that wrapped around him like a storm. Images flashed in his head, alien skies, burning ships, his own hands firing weapons he had never seen before. A final image froze in his vision. It was him, standing on the deck of an alien battleship, giving orders in a language he did not understand. The light faded. Daniel realized his right hand was already holding the sphere. It was warm, alive, almost like it had a heartbeat. The leader stepped forward. "You remember now?" he said. Daniel swallowed hard. "I remember something," he admitted. "But it's like a dream." Before his leader could answer, the entire building shook so violently that the glass walls rattled. An alien officer's voice came over the comms. "They've breached the atmosphere. Vorin landing units in the city." The leader turned to Daniel. "It is time." The little girl's voice came again, steady as stone. "You will fly the Aegis," she said. Daniel blinked. "The what?" The leader answered, "Our oldest warship, the one you flew last time." And outside, beyond the silver walls of the Nine Suns, a massive black and gold battleship rose from the city's docking spire. Its cannons hummed, its shields lit like burning fire, and in Daniel's chest, a strange, terrifying feeling began to grow. The sense that somewhere deep inside him, he had already fought this war before. The battle. The Aegis rose higher into the alien sky. Its golden armor caught the light of the 3 suns, casting long beams across the clouds. From the command deck, Daniel could see the city below. Tall silver towers, glowing bridges, and open skyways, where alien ships darted like fish in water. But now those same towers were burning. Flashes of red and black fell from above. Vorin landing units smashing into the streets, unfolding into spider-like machines. Daniel's hands moved across the control panel. He had never seen controls like this before. Smooth silver plates instead of buttons, streams of light instead of switches. But his fingers seemed to know where to go. The Starfire key in his palm pulsed, and the ship responded as if it could hear his thoughts. "Enemy squadron incoming," the alien officer beside him shouted. Daniel's eyes locked on the viewing glass. 14 Vorin warships were closing fast, moving in a perfect attack pattern. Their black hulls split open, revealing weapon ports glowing with molten red. Daniel gritted his teeth. "Activate forward shields," he ordered. The alien Oshros. The officer hesitated. "Captain, the forward shields take too much energy. Our engines—" "Do it," Daniel cut him off. The officer obeyed, and the front of the Aegis shimmered with a golden barrier. The first wave of enemy fire hit like a meteor storm. The shield flared bright but held. Daniel didn't wait. "Lock all cannons on the lead ship, fire in 3-second bursts." Golden beams of energy tore through the sky, striking the Vorin vessel and sending it spinning into the path of another. 2 ships exploded together in a flash of molten debris. The crew stared at him, surprised. No alien captain had ever commanded like this. Fast, aggressive, precise. It was as if he had fought the Vorin 100 times before, and maybe somewhere deep in his past he had multiple hostiles approaching from below, another crew member shouted. Daniel switched the Aegis into a dive. The golden warship spun downward through clouds, plasma trails streaming behind. He cut between 2 burning towers, the shields scraping the building's edges. Vorin fighters chased close, their red beams slicing through the air. Daniel triggered a rear burst, a shockwave of golden energy that tore through the pursuing fighters. 3 fell in pieces, the rest scattered. The alien crew exchanged stunned looks. They had never seen the Aegis fly like this, but then the viewing glass shifted, showing something bigger. The Vorin flagship had moved into low orbit. Its shadow stretched across the entire city. The molten cracks in its hull glowed brighter, and at its center, a single massive cannon was unfolding. "What is that?" Daniel asked. The leader's voice came through the comms from the council hall. "The planet breaker," he said. "One shot can crack our world's crust." Daniel's grip on the controls tightened. "How long until it fires?" 3 minutes, the voice replied. Every second felt like a blade against his skin. He turned to the weapons officer. "Do we have anything that can take it down from here?" The officer's eyes dropped. "Nothing with enough power, unless—" "Unless what?" Daniel pressed. The officer hesitated. "The Starfire core. But it will overload the ship." The crew fell silent. Daniel could hear the faint clicking of the Vorin machines, even from here. He looked down at the little sphere of light in his hand. The Starfire key pulsed faster. Maybe it was alive. Maybe it was waiting. He looked at the crew. "If we don't stop that cannon, there won't be a city left to save." The weapons officer's hands trembled. "If we fire the core, we won't survive the blast." Daniel's voice was steady. "Then make sure it counts." The Aegis climbed sharply, breaking through the cloud layers into the black void of space. The flagship loomed ahead, its planet breaker glowing brighter. Daniel felt a strange calm, like he had stood in this exact place before, and as the countdown ticked in his head, he realized the battle wasn't just for the aliens' survival, it was for something older, something the machines had never forgotten. "Target the cannon," he said quietly. The Starfire key flared in his palm. The golden ship's energy built to a blinding white, and in the silence before the shot, Daniel could almost hear the Vorin speaking in the back of his mind. 2 words, cold and certain. "Welcome back." The sacrifice. The Aegis shuddered as the Starfire core reached full power. Golden light flooded the command deck, so bright it painted every shadow in fire. The hum of the engines turned into a deep roar. Every warning light on the control panel flashed red. The crew gripped their stations as the ship trembled like it was alive and angry. On the viewing glass, the Vorin flagship loomed larger and larger. Its planet breaker cannon was almost fully charged. Molten light spiraled inside it like the heart of a volcano. The enemy ships moved to block the Aegis, but Daniel drove the ship forward with reckless speed. The golden armor tore through the smaller fighters, smashing them aside like sparks from a forge. "Captain, "We can't get any closer without the shields failing," the weapons officer shouted. Daniel's voice was calm but sharp. "We won't need shields where we're going." The crew exchanged fearful looks. They knew what he meant. The starfire blast would have to be fired from point-blank range. It would destroy the cannon. But the Aegis would never survive the explosion. The little alien girl's voice came over the comms. She was still in the safety of the council hall. "You can still leave," she said softly. Her voice carried something strange, not fear, but certainty. Daniel didn't answer, because deep inside, he knew leaving wasn't an option. As the Aegis charged through the enemy formation, memories flashed in Daniel's mind. Not his own, or maybe they were. He saw himself standing on the deck of this very ship long ago. He saw the same Voran flagship, the same molten cracks, the same cannon, and he saw himself making the same choice, the same sacrifice. "Captain, 30 seconds to firing range," the navigator called. Daniel's grip on the starfire key tightened, his voice lowered to a whisper. "Let's finish this." The Voran fleet reacted, shifting to protect their flagship. Dozens of fighters swarmed in, firing relentlessly. The Aegis shook under the impact, golden shields flaring and fading. Sparks rained from the ceiling as consoles overloaded. Still, Daniel didn't slow down. The flagship's cannon glowed so bright now it was painful to look at. 10 seconds, the weapons officer called. Daniel's eyes locked on the target. The key in his hand pulsed in rhythm with his heartbeat. It was almost like it was counting down with him. But then, something happened that froze him. The Voran flagship opened a channel. A voice, cold, metallic, and impossibly calm, spoke inside his mind. "We remember you," it said. "We learned from last time." And before Daniel could react, the flagship shifted its cannon, not at the planet, but directly at the Aegis. "Captain, it's targeting us," the navigator shouted. Daniel didn't hesitate. "Fire the core, now!" The starfire blast erupted from the Aegis. A beam of pure golden energy shot forward, cutting through space like the sword of a god. It hit the planet breaker cannon just as the Voran fired. The collision created a blinding white explosion that swallowed both ships. Inside the light, Daniel felt weightless. The sounds of alarms and battle faded into silence, and in that silence, the little alien girl's voice whispered again in his mind, "You will come back." Then everything was gone. From the surface below, the aliens watched as the golden light faded. The Voran flagship was gone. The enemy fleet scattered in chaos, but the Aegis was nowhere to be seen. The council hall fell silent. The leader bowed his head. The little girl stood at the viewing glass, her silver eyes calm. "He did what he always does," she said. "He left when the danger passed." The legacy. Days passed since the great battle. The skies above the alien city were quiet now. The smoke from burning towers had thinned, revealing the silver spires and glowing bridges once more. The streets were filled with survivors rebuilding, but in the heart of the city, before the council hall, stood something new, a monument. It was shaped like the bow of the Aegis, rising high into the sky. Its surface was forged from the same golden alloy as the ship. At its center, carved into the metal, was the symbol from Daniel's jacket sleeve. Beneath it, the alien script read in their own tongue, "The Wanderer Beyond Time, Our Protector." The little alien girl came every morning. She carried a small bundle of white flowers. She placed them at the base of the monument. Then she would sit cross-legged on the cold silver floor, her silver eyes staring at the carving as if waiting for it to move. The council leader often watched her from the steps. One day he finally asked, "Why do you come here every day, child?" She didn't look away from the monument. "Because I know he's not gone," she said simply. The leader's voice was gentle. "The Aegis was lost in the blast. Even if he survived, there is no way back from where he went." The girl smiled faintly. "He has always come back." That night, the city slept under 3 moons. The wind carried the smell of fresh rain over the silver streets. In the shadows near the monument, a tall figure stood motionless. The golden light from the monument's base caught the edge of a human face, eyes that had seen more than one lifetime. A faint pulse of white light glowed in his hand, the starfire key. He stepped closer to the carving, running his fingers over the symbol. His expression was unreadable. For a moment, he looked up at the stars. Not the stars of Earth, but stars that now felt strangely familiar. From the other side of the plaza, the little girl's voice broke the silence. "I knew you'd come," she said. Daniel turned. She was standing barefoot in the moonlight, her silver eyes bright. "You shouldn't be awake," he said softly. She shook her head. "Neither should you." They stood in silence for a long moment. Finally, Daniel spoke. "It's not over," he said. "The Vorin are still out there, and they remember." The girl nodded. "Then we will be ready." Daniel looked at her with something between pride and warning. "You'll have to be stronger than you think." "I already am," she said. A faint hum came from the Starfire key. Daniel glanced down at it, then back at the girl. "When the time comes, find me," he told her. "I always do," she replied. Before she could blink, the place where he stood was empty. Only the sound of the wind and the glowing monument remained. The girl stepped forward, placing her hand on the warm metal. She whispered, almost to herself, "Until next time." And above the quiet city, a single golden streak of light shot across the sky, too fast for most to notice, but not for her.